Welcome to Winning Begins at Home. Excited about today's episode. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about the power of an evening routine. We've been looking this week really at what it means to win the last hour of the day. Last week we spent a whole week on winning the first hour of the day, that morning routine. This week we've been looking at the evening routine and how to get better sleep, some of that. And so I want us to dive in today. Annie Dillard, one time, she's an author. She said the way we spend our days is, of course, the way we spend our lives. And the same thing could be said for our evenings. It's like it dominoes, we said this week. If we get it right the last hour, it actually prepares us for the next day. And I've run across all kind of stuff as I've been working on this content this week and thinking through it. And it was amazing that there's all kind of statistics and studies and stuff that I've read and had a chance to look at. But there was a study I ran across that showed that people who had an evening routine reported 40% less anxiety than those who didn't. And they actually fell asleep about 15 minutes sooner than the people who had all the anxiety, all the stress, all the depression, all the stuff. Now, I'm not talking clinical stuff. I know there's stuff going on that is way beyond, the scope of this show here. But I think sometimes we just bring it on ourselves, some of the stress that we're feeling, because we don't know how to let it go. We don't know how to wind down. We continue to have the screen stuff coming in like we talked about yesterday. If you missed that episode, I hope you'll check that out, because I think one of the hardest parts is the technology. But today, let's talk about some things we can do to create a great routine. And I want to start today with this idea, something we've actually talked about a little bit this week, this idea of closure. Our brains need closure. Our brains run on a loop. And if we're not careful, we will have this never-ending cycle of stress and anxiety that we continue to feed, and we never land the plane. And so I suggested, I think it was Monday, to get yourself a legal pad and a pen or a journal. Find something that you can put on your nightstand or beside your bed, and you can every day at the end of the day take just a few minutes in that last hour and write down all the things that you need to let go, that you're saying, I'm not going to think about these for the next 8 hours. Just make a decision. I know that sounds silly, because they're still going to be there when you wake up in the morning. They're going to be available to you, waiting on you. They're ready to be, dealt with tomorrow. But your brain actually responds to that. It will, that act of letting it go and knowing that I'm not going to lose it. We're not going to, sometimes I think we'll freak out. I'm going to forget this. I've got to remember this. And then, and all night long, your brain is so smart. It is dealing with the stress of that, and the anxiety of that. And you actually, your sleep, your restorative sleep is affected by the fact that you can't let go of those loops. And so let's make sure psychologically we got closure going on. We're able to write that down and do that. And then I would say there's some components as I think about this idea of a sleep routine or an evening routine, really might say it that way. And I want to go back to something we talked about a few weeks ago when it was the midpoint of the year. And I shared a story about how I used to be a coach, and I loved the halftime. You could go in and you could assess the first half, and you could make adjustments, and then you could go out and attack in the second half. Well, there was another thing that happened at halftime that I didn't mention, and you actually had a chance to rest a little bit. You're in the fury of the first half, then you get to rest, and then you go back into the game in the second half. I think that's a really great way to think about our evening routine. Let's do a couple things every night. Let's assess, how was the day? And maybe even in your journal on your pad, you can write down, what were your 3 favorite parts of today? What did you learn today? What was the hardest thing today? And again, this can take as long or as little time as you want. There's actually a little bit of a cheat code here. And I say a cheat code because one of the studies I saw found that if you just have a 15-minute routine, it can be just as effective as somebody with an hour-long routine. I'm gonna lobby for us having a little bit more than 15 minutes to kind of wind down our day. And when I say more than 15 minutes, I think the routine part can only take 15 minutes, but I just want to make sure that last hour that we're screen free. So that would be what I would lobby for on the last hour. But you might read for an hour or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of ways to use that time. But I love the idea of taking a couple of minutes at the end of the day and saying, let's assess the day. How was the day? What worked? What didn't work? What did I learn? What do I want to change? That would be the adjust part. What needs to adjust? And you could even write down an adjustment that you want to make, maybe something you want to try. And then the R would be rest. I mean, like we assess, adjust, and rest. It's just like at halftime. This is going to be AARA here instead of AARP. I think we'll stay a little more or a little less AARP if we'll go AARA. So the R is to rest, and we have prepared ourselves now by closing this loop. We've psychologically laid it down. We've let our brain begin to rest, and now we can have some good deep sleep. It'll be fantastic. And then we get to wake up the next day, assuming we get another day. Every day's a gift. They're not promised. But if you get another day, now we can attack. Now we can go into attack mode because we're rested and we're ready to do that. And so I want to encourage you to think through this assess, adjust, rest, and then attack as you go into that next day. And you can attack with some intention because you took the time the night before to think about the things that you learned, to think about the things that you want to do, the things you need to do differently, that maybe who do you need to go and talk to and encourage, or maybe somebody you need to apologize to. You can lay all that stuff down every night, and then the next day you can go deal with that. If you have a chance to, clear the slate with somebody before the end of the day, go, by all means, do that. But if something comes to mind, you can still come back to it the next day. You have permission to do that. Now, I do want to mention a couple of things, because there are different seasons of life, and different people are at different places here who may be listening. And you may be, let's give some examples here. You may be a young parent, and you're just trying to grab any sleep you can anywhere. I've got, our kids they've got little kids, and they're just trying to sleep anytime they can. And I think this can become a vicious cycle if we're not careful. And so you're going to have to make some adjustments here for the season of life that you find yourself in right now. You may be a shift worker. I know some people who, they work all through the night, and they sleep during the day, and you're going to have to adjust your routine to meet your season of life, or your job, your vocation. It may be affected by this, but I think the point is here, let's make sure that we shut it off. We find time to rest those 7 to 9 hours a day. 7 to 8 hours really is the way I would at least encourage you to try to get that. I think if you can do that, you'll be well on your way to a much more energized life. And then I saw another routine, what they call the 10-10-10 rule. This was 10 minutes to clean up the day, to really, basically same thing. What did I learn today? What do I need to, let go of today? What was my best part of the day? What am I grateful for today? Is there anything from today that I need to process through before? And so to take 10 minutes to do that. And then the next one was to take 10 minutes to prepare for the next day. I like this one, where you lay your clothes out, you think about what you're going to have for lunch. You think about your morning routine. You're like, here's what I'm going to read tomorrow morning. Here's who I need to call during the day. You're really thinking through. Again, we're taking very little time, but we're 10 minutes to prepare for tomorrow. And then 10 minutes, they said 10 minutes for yourself at the end, that's where you would read. That's where you would pray. You would think about what you're grateful for, all those things. I like just having a little 10-10-10 framework too. So a lot of different ways here to do your routine. I think you're going to have to customize it for the different seasons of your life. And I would just say, for me, my goal here is progress. It's not, you don't have to have the perfect routine this week. You just want to make some progress. And if you can do that week after week, night after night, actually, is probably the way I ought to say it. I think if you can do that night after night, again, you can improve your sleep, you can improve your rest, and you can even encourage some of the people in your family to participate in this. How cool would it be if your entire family had evening routines that you participated in together? Those would be some of the things that would be memorable for sure, but they would mark the lives of your kids and everyone. Like we were purposeful in the way we did our family life. That's a lot of what Winning Begins at Home is about. It's having really a thoughtful way to build a great family. And I was talking to a guy a few months back. I was actually on his podcast, and he told me that he one of his greatest memories of his childhood was, he said, we had a great family, a lot of kids, and mom and dad. And he said it was fantastic. And he said, my greatest memory of my childhood is when we would sit around the table and have dinner together. And then at night we would all sit at some point in the night, and we would all read for about a half an hour. Everybody'd get a book, and they would sit around and read. Those days are long gone, unless you choose to create an environment for that. If you don't, all the tech companies would love to have your attention, love to have your kids' attention. They would love to have your marketing dollar. I mean, they're going to send marketing dollars. They love to have your dollars. They are vying for your attention. Let's don't let that happen. Let's make sure that we are telling our time where to go, and we are settling our day at the end of the day, preparing for a great day tomorrow. I think if we do that, we're not only going to be better rested and more energized and more productive, but we're going to be better in our family lives. And I think we can create some really great stuff there. So hopefully you got some things there to think about today. Really, the action step is just to create your own little routine. You choose what it is. Maybe one thing to close out your day, one thing that you want to think about for tomorrow. Maybe you do want to lay your clothes out. I don't know if that, I remember that when we were kids, but maybe that's a good idea. Decide tonight what you're going to do tomorrow. And it really does take the stress off of the morning. You don't have to decide one less thing to cloud you or to hold you back in the morning. And then one thing just for you, something you want to read tonight, or maybe a gratitude practice, maybe some light stretching or something. You probably don't need to be doing a workout right before you go to bed, but I think there's some things that we can do just to restore us, and that are going to bring us joy. If we'll do that, it'll be great. All right. Love you guys. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Got one more day. There might be a missing ingredient to a great night's rest, and I'm going to cover some of those tomorrow on our last episode here with this winning the last hour of the day week we've been in this week. So share with your friends and family. Come back tomorrow, and remember, winning begins at home.